Hello everyone and welcome to Gearhead Entertainment. Today is Sundays with Steve and we're back with Demeter. We've got to talk about some of this nonsense. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. So to start with, they switched off Demeter from Hephaestus to Hera. Now there's a problem with that, which is that one, Olympian weapons still mention harpies, even though you'll notice Demeter does not have the option for harpies for Olympian weapons anymore. Secondly, Hera now has Argive patronage. I mean, she's had that for a while. It's because she was specific to Zeus, and Zeus had Myrmidon. So now Demeter gets Myrmidon too, and she gets the harpies. And neither one of them are particularly good with her because they don't get the full benefits from Zeus, but they also don't get the full, well, I guess they kind of would get the same benefits. But even then, Zeus's infantry is a lot stronger. You know, you can do Ares, or no, sorry, you can do Athena, and then Dionysus, and then Hera, and that gives your Myrmidons a very strong buff. Or you can go with Hephaestus and give him another buff. But he's made for Myrmidon, Demeter is not. So we have that nonsense to deal with. And it's just one more change that kind of makes me think that they really did not think through anything that they were doing with this. I think the whole reason they switched to Hera is because they're like, well, we can't have 4 Greek gods with Hephaestus. Yes, you can. All right, yes, you 100% can. The whole point of having Hephaestus is that he's supposed to be able to kind of benefit all the special units. It's not our fault that you guys chose the dumbest special unit for Demeter possible. It completely boggles my mind. It's ridiculous. So I'm just gonna play with Demeter today, and I'm doing the dailies, and well, I'm doing the daily and a couple of weeklies while I'm at it. It's more of a Norse-oriented weekly, so I can't get them all, but I should be able to get probably 2 out of those 4. Defeating 500 enemy units is going to take time, and since there's only 1 enemy, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But we're just going to try and get as many as we can, and try and ignore the fact that Xbox no longer knows what they're doing. So here's part of the problem, and I started thinking about this too. So Demeter is supposed to be a nature goddess, and so everybody expected her to be an economy goddess. And if you look at the way, if you look at her description, it is kind of economy focused. It's focused on herdables and farms, which is great. All right, I love it when we have an economy god. All right, they make. Ignore my dog. He's whining. He thinks he's not getting enough attention. He is. Yeah, sure, good boy. I love a good economy god because I like to play with strong economy. And if you have a strong economy, you can beat anything else in the game. The problem is Demeter really isn't an economy goddess. If you look at her choices, so Pan versus Ares, that's more of defense versus offense. You can also look at because Pan really doesn't have that much that benefits your economy. Most of what he has benefits your walls and your defenses. So like his Arcadian Meadow or his Thorn Wall. The villagers kind of, but the problem is, if anything, I've already made this complaint about the Lycans. They suck. They take up 3 villager counts and only really do the work of 1 villager unless you're hunting or herding. And even then, I don't think. I'm going to go with Ares, by the way. He's just a superior choice. Even then, I don't think they're like 3 times better than your average villager. The only reason they cost 3 command points is because they're a myth unit. But because they cost 3 command points, it also cuts into your villager count. And when you're doing a lightning match like this, 3 villagers is a lot to be wasting on a Lycan. So I'm going to go with Ares. Ares is just objectively the better choice. Pan gives you some neat defensive things, but you might as well just buff your archers. Because I started thinking about this. She's really not an economy goddess. Her heroic age choices. Let's see. It's Hestia, who gives slight benefits to your farms, but realistically, not like that many. They have to be near the hearth. Most of her stuff is like either defense oriented or it's hearth oriented. Aphrodite, of course, is more economy oriented, and I like Aphrodite as a choice for Demeter, but she's the only maybe economy focused goddess, and it's a problem. It's just, Demeter, again, you would think Demeter would be the economy goddess. We've already got one for cavalry, we've already got one for archers, that's Hades, and we've already got infantry, it's Zeus, cavalry, Poseidon, all right? So she's supposed to be the economy. Instead, they made her more of an archer goddess, all right? Because, you can see some of the ways other things benefit it. So, let's see, I think it's either Pan or Hestia. I haven't played too much of it. I think it's either Pan or Hestia. It might be Persephone. It's one of those three that grants the ability to kind of ricochet arrows. I thought it was Pan, but I don't know. I've only played Demeter a couple of times because there's just better Greeks to play as. But if you look at her, so Orpheus, let's see right down here. Orpheus benefits your archers. He gives them divine damage, which is nice. But it's like, okay, well, so we already have an archery god. It's Hades. Why are we making Hestia the archery goddess? We've got other buffs to arrows as well. So it seems like they're leaning more into archers for Hestia or for Demeter than for economy. So again, we have Hestia and Aphrodite at the second age. Aphrodite is a good choice if you're going for economy, and she's like the only choice. Hestia, again, it's all right, but the hearth is more of like a defensive structure than it is actual economy buff. I think your farms work faster, but it's mainly there for like converting units. I think that's all the AI really uses it for. That's all I really use it for. It's too small of a radius to be effective for a lot of farming, so. It's just not. It's more defense oriented than economy, and it bugs me because that's the whole point is an economy goddess. All right, and then you get to the Mythic Age, and originally it was Persephone and Hephaestus, and at least with Hephaestus you could get a ton of plenty vaults if you got your wonder up. And then you had the Eidolons with Persephone and a buff to your archer units, and so she was more of a defense / archer oriented goddess. And Hephaestus was upgrades in economy, and that worked fine. But now they've changed it to Hera. They have not changed the description of Hephaestus's Olympian weapons, but they have changed they've changed the goddess to Hera. Or they've changed it from the god Hephaestus to the goddess of Hera for your other choice. And so now you have just one lazy coding. Like, it would have taken 5 seconds for you to go back and edit the text that says, oh, this benefit also upgrades your harpies, because it obviously doesn't, because you can't pick Hephaestus. And then, on the other hand, with Hera, it's like, okay, she was specifically geared for Zeus. All right, and that's fine. That was the way they had originally set it up in the original game, all right? Because, if you get to the Egyptians in the Mythic Age, they had kind of a split between all three gods in the Mythic Age, but if you look at the Norse and the Greeks, it's like, okay, well, there's one god that like most of them can choose, and there's one god that only one of the major gods gets access to, and that's fine. And that was kind of expected for Greece, and they broke with that. And the only real reason they broke with that I can think, I can't even think why they would do that. If you wanted a different special unit, that'd be one thing. But they didn't even give a different special unit. It's just, okay, occasionally Myrmidon because of Hera. And if you wanted a second one, why not Artemis? At the very least, she would buff your archers, you get Earthquake, Lightning Storm is nice, but it's supposed to be for Zeus, so it doesn't even make sense contextually why it would go for Demeter. It's so stupid. There's no point to it. It's a change for whatever reason, and it's because they really didn't think through Demeter. And I've been kind of thinking about this for a while now. So when Age of Mythology Retold first came out, it had this big scandal about the creators using AI to make some of the god portraits. Now they say they changed that. I kind of have my doubts because a lot of the new ones they make look almost identical to the ones they made out of AI. I guess they probably just made it more convincing and moved on. That would be my guess. I don't know for certain, but that would be my guess. And then you've got Xbox, the new CEO of Xbox. If you haven't seen this, you should look her up. Her big thing is she's pushing AI. She doesn't look like she's going to be good for much else, but she's really into AI. So you have Xbox, who owns Age of Mythology Retold, pushing AI. You have Age of Mythology Retold already showing some willingness to use AI. And then you have just nonsensical decisions. Like what myth units she has, what they do, the heroes available, the gods available now. And then you get little things like the descriptions for Hephaestus' Olympian weapons, or the fact that Hera's specific god ability for Myrmidons, the Zeus special unit, now applies to a different faction. It feels like none of this is really thought through. It feels like they're kind of just making stuff up as they go along and not even trying that hard to make it up. Honestly, it feels to me like somebody probably punched this into a prompt and said, give me 3 other gods and goddesses for Demeter, and then when they didn't quite like it, they're like, okay, well, let's tweak this prompt. It drives me up a wall. And I can't prove that they're using AI for this, but it's let me put it this way. If they're not using AI, then they are so colossally stupid that it makes me lose all hope, and it makes me think they probably should have used AI. It's that crazy. It's just, this new decision does not make any sense. And the thing is, they've got an entire new update coming with the Aztecs. All right, and it's part of the same package. But if they're making these mistakes now, what are the Aztecs going to look like? It baffles me. There was no need to do any of this. It doesn't make any sense. And it's not even really like it makes Demeter all that much stronger. That's the crazy thing, is that Hera doesn't really give a whole lot of benefits to Demeter. I gotta think here. I'm trying to think what she even has. So she has she's Face of the Gorgon, and I think she has like Monstrous Rage, which are both Gorgon upgrades. Monstrous Rage might affect all myth units. It's been a minute since I've looked at it specifically. I normally just buy it and move on. But so so you might have one thing that affects myth units across the board. And then you have Argive Patronage. I don't think she has anything else. She used to have Athenian Wall, so at the very least that would buff all of your hit points for your buildings. That would buff the hit points for all of your buildings. Alright, so that used to be kind of like, it would kind of make sense, I guess, in context, because Demeter, for whatever reason, is more of a defense-oriented goddess and an archery-oriented goddess than an actual economy-focused goddess. That part doesn't make sense, but I guess Hera, in that context, might have made sense. But they don't even have that anymore. They have Argive Patronage, which is, again, specifically focused on Zeus. It was one of the reasons I said, when this pack was releasing, I said, okay, because they're going to go with Hephaestus, and they're probably going to go with some other god or goddess, the new god or goddess. But Hephaestus would be the OG that they bring in, and it's because he makes sense in the context. All the other Greeks have access to him, and the only one that they would really want to bring in otherwise would be Hera, because she doesn't get used that much, and Hera only makes sense for Zeus. Alright, that was the reasoning. And pretty much everybody was thinking that, whether or not they were saying that, and now they're coming in and they're like, oh, well, we'll just throw in Hera for reasons. It's stupid. It is so stupid. And it makes me wonder, like, okay, did they use AI for this, like I said? And if this is what it looks like now, how bad are the Aztecs going to be? I don't know. And I like Age of Mythology, and I like Age of Mythology Retold, but these are some really dumb decisions, and it doesn't bode well. And I don't know how much of this is Age of Mythology being lazy. I don't know how much of this is Xbox being lazy. I don't know how much of this is they genuinely think it's a good idea. But in any case, no matter which one of those it is, something needs to change. All right, if they keep going down this road, this game is going to lose popularity. It is going to fall apart, and you're going to get more and more people like me who played the original game who are just going to start coming out and saying, "Hey, this is not the game we wanted. This is not the game we remember. You guys have kind of destroyed a good thing." And it was amazing too, because all they had to do was just take their hands off. All they had to do was just like nothing. They didn't even have to introduce all these new factions, all these new gods. They could have done nothing and we would have been happy. They could have taken in fan suggestions as well. And that's another. If this is a fan suggestion to go with Hera instead of Hephaestus, some of these people need to be smacked. All right, this is ridiculous. Smacked in Minecraft. Don't go around hitting people. You have to say that on YouTube because people think you're serious when you say these things. It's so stupid. So all of this to say, Age of Mythology has their head up their butt, and you should keep an eye out. If you are a fan of this game, if you're playing this game, keep an eye out for the new pack. Maybe wait around. Give it a month before you buy it, because it may turn out to be total crap. Alright, you've been warned. I'm going to go ahead and finish the daily, see how much of this weekly I can get done. I think probably I'll get the 20 buildings, and then I'll probably get the skirmish because the dailies count as a skirmish. This is the thing, I don't even play Demeter that much. I mean, to be fair, I haven't had a ton of time to play Age of Mythology since the new update. I've been kind of busy, but even still, if I'm gonna be playing the Greeks, I'm usually going with a Greek that feels more powerful. And I've been kind of leaning into it this time. Aphrodite doesn't give any buff to your archers, but Ares does, because he gives, what was it? I think it's Enios bow? But anyway, he gives a buff to your archers, so that's nice. I'm probably going to go with Hera, but Hestia might have some archer buffs. I think I'm going to go with Aphrodite. She'll buff my economy a bit, and I can spend money into the ground. I will do to the Norse what Reagan did to the Soviets. Just spend them into the ground. So, I think that's probably the play. I think, the Demeter units just feel weaker compared to other Greeks. I don't know how to put it other than that. I think it's probably because the only thing I can think is that's the way I play the other Greeks, where I really lean into my strength. So if I'm playing Poseidon, I play the ones that buff horses. If I'm playing Zeus, I play the ones that buff infantry. And with Demeter, there's really no one in particular. Archers are probably her best bet, but even then, they're going to be weaker than Hades archers. So, which is the other thing. It's like, okay, if you're going to make... I kind of said this already, but if you're going to make Demeter archery focused, Hades is already that. Hades is better at being an archer support. All right, why are you bothering? You could have done siege. You could have focused on siege units. A lot of gods lean into siege, or you could have done what Demeter was supposed to do and lean into the economy. But they don't do these things, and it drives me crazy. By the way, this is something else I noticed while I was playing. If any of you are familiar with Chapel Roan, I only know of this woman because she's infamous for doing drag and being a pop singer that whines about how bad her life is. But I couldn't help but notice that Persephone looks a lot like her. I'll put in a picture in post so you guys can see. It's uncanny. It's kind of weird, honestly. I don't know. It's just stupid. It feels like so much of this game was... so much of this Demeter update feels like it was... made up on the spot. I'm trying to refrain from using more unsavory language here. It feels like they just kind of pulled a lot of this out of nowhere without a whole lot of thought going into it. And it feels like they're trying to make a correction with Hera. And not only did it not correct the problem, it made things worse. It just doesn't make any sense. Alright, well, we've got our Titan. Probably send the Titan out here in a bit, march through the Norse, just completely decimate everybody and Wibble the Wonder. Not everything is bad, but the problem is the longer and longer I stew on what they've done with Demeter, the more and more I just think, man, I don't care for it. I think it was a miss, a massive miss, and I think that they're probably on track to do the same with the Aztecs. I can't guarantee that, I hope not, but like, this is the evidence I have to go off of, and I don't know how many other people are really talking about this. I think I've seen one video that might have been a little bit more critical of Demeter. But it's just, maybe I'm the only one, maybe I'm just completely nuts, but if so, then I would like people to answer some very obvious questions for me about it. Okay, see, here's the thing, I like Fafnir, I like Freyr. I think Freyr was well done. And nobody really had any complaints about Freyr because a lot of his stuff made sense. Alright? I know that I'm kind of going on and on and on about how Hera was more of a Zeus-focused god, and you could probably say the same about Hel and Loki, but at the very least for Loki, or for Hel, none of the things that she had were specifically like, this buffs a Loki-specific unit. You could say it makes less sense because, you know, Hel's the daughter of Loki, and so, you know, you probably should have just stuck with Tyr, or Balder, one of those two. But, it wasn't as egregious. And now I just feel like I'm looking through all of this, and see, Freyr's evidence that they could have done this well. Freyr is evidence that they could have done this right if they had tried. And it feels like just a lot of laziness, and that's the problem. Alright, let's go ahead and buy Omniscience. Close to the end here. I'm probably going to have another Titan here in a second. Let's go ahead and it's ready. I'll build it. We're playing a lightning round, and I've got 40 villagers. That thing will build in no time. See, I'm playing with Hera. It doesn't make sense, but I want this to be over quickly because I'm getting angry the more I think about this. So, but again, if you were going to trade her out for somebody, you could have put in Artemis, because at the very least, Artemis would have buffed her archers. This is my problem with playing Demeter. It's like there's no reason why I would play Demeter, because everything that she's supposedly good at, there's another Greek god that's better at it now. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely stupid. Alright, well, let me take a look at how good I did. Thank you, all of you, by the way, for watching. If you agree, go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment, kind of sharing your rant. If you disagree, let me know why you're wrong. And make sure to tune in. Dean's been putting out a lot of videos lately. I know he was sick over the last week, but he's better now, so he's hoping to be streaming a little bit more. So go ahead and visit his channel as well. Like and subscribe. I will see you guys next week.